Hello friends and welcome to my channel. In this video we will be learning about the epidemiology of polio. Before beginning, let's look at an overview of what we will be learning in this video. We'll be looking at the introduction, the epidemiological determinants, that is the agent factors, host factors, the environmental factors, mode of transmission, the incubation period, clinical spectrum, prevention, pulse polio immunization and polio surveillance. Now I'll be showing certain diagrams in each slide which I want you all to note because it will be easier to remember the points by associating it with these diagrams. So as an introduction, poliomyelitis is an acute viral infection which is caused by an RNA virus. Second point is it is primarily an infection of the human alimentary tract that I have shown here. But the virus may also infect the central nervous system in a very small percentage of cases, resulting in various degrees of paralysis and possibly causing death. Now let's learn about the epidemiological determinants, under which first we will be learning about the agent factors. Now here in poliomyelitis, the agent factor is an RNA virus which is called the poliovirus, and it has three serotypes, that is 1, 2 and 3, out of which serotype 1 is responsible for the paralytic polio. Secondly, let's look at the reservoir of infection. Now this agent has a reservoir of infection, that is obviously man, and most of the cases are subclinical nature, and for every one case there are 1000 subclinical cases. So that is about the reservoir of infection. Nextly, let's look at the infectious material. It is mainly the fecus and the oropharyngeal secretions which are the infectious material. After this, what is the period of communicability? It is 7 to 10 days before and 7 to 10 days after the onset of symptoms. By remembering this diagram, we can easily remember the main points associated under the agent factors. Concising the important points under the agent factors of epidemiological determinants, the agent is poliovirus which has three serotypes 1, 2 and 3. The type 1 virus is responsible for paralytic polio. The poliovirus can survive for long in external environment. It is rapidly inactivated by pasteurization. Now the reservoir of infection is man. There are subclinical infections which have a role in the spread of infection. For every clinical case, there may be 1000 subclinical cases. Now, the infectious material is fecus and oropharyngeal secretions of the infected person. The period of communicability in most infectious cases is 7 to 10 days before and after the onset of symptoms. So now let's learn about the host factors. First, looking at the age, poliomyelitis can occur in all age groups, but children are more susceptible than adults. And the age of 6 months to 3 years is at which they are the most vulnerable. Next, looking at the sex, there is a ratio of 3:1 in males to females seen in the pattern of poliomyelitis disease. Next, looking at the risk factors, fatigability, trauma, intramuscular injections, and in operational procedures like tonsillectomy at the time of epidemics hold a major risk factor to precipitate poliomyelitis. Next, looking at immunity, the maternal antibodies disappear by 6 months, and a single attack can hold a lifelong immunity, but chances of reinfection can also occur. Concising the important points under the host factors, the age, it occurs at all age groups, but children are more susceptible than adults. In India, polio is essentially a disease of infancy and childhood, and the most vulnerable age is between 6 months and 3 years. Sex is 3 males to 1 female, and the risk factors include fatigue, trauma, intramuscular injections, operative procedures like tonsillectomy. Immunity, the maternal antibodies gradually disappear during the first 6 months of life. Immunity following infection is fairly solid. Now we are going to learn about the environmental factors. First is the rainy season. The 60% of cases of poliomyelitis in India occur in the months of June to September, that is in the rainy season. Next is the environmental sources of infection, that is contaminated water, contaminated foods, flies. They are the environmental sources of infection. Then comes overcrowding and poor sanitation, which provide opportunities for exposure to infection. Now let's look at the mode of transmission. There are two major modes of transmission, that is a fecal-oral route and droplet infection. So under fecal-oral route, infection may spread directly through contaminated fingers, and it can indirectly spread through contaminated water, milk, food, flies and other contaminated articles. Droplet infection occurs in the acute phase of disease when virus occurs in the throat. The close personal contact with infected persons facilitates the droplet spread. So now we'll be learning about an important part, that is the clinical spectrum of poliomyelitis. Under that, we'll be learning it under inapparent infection, abortive polio, non-paralytic polio and paralytic polio. Under inapparent infection, the patient usually shows no presenting symptoms, and the recognition is usually by virus isolation or antibody titers. So those are the two main important points. Moving on to abortive polio, there is mild disease which is usually due to viremia. There are mild presenting symptoms. Now the recovery in this case is rapid, and the recognition is by virus isolation or antibody titers similar to inapparent infection. Moving on to non-paralytic polio, there is usually stiffness and pain in the neck and the back. As you can see in this diagram, there is stiffness and pain. It usually lasts for 2 to 10 days. The recovery is rapid, and this non-paralytic polio is usually synonymous with aseptic meningitis. Now, under paralytic polio, the virus infects the CNS and causes various degrees of paralysis. One important sign is asymmetric flaccid paralysis, and other symptoms associated with it is nausea and vomiting, headache, malaise, fever, sore throat and meningeal irritation. Now another important sign is the tripod sign that you can see in this picture. Children usually find it difficult to sit and usually sit with their hands supported as well as their hips and knees flexed. Now the progression to complete paralysis occurs in less than 4 days. And the characteristics of the paralysis are descending in nature. That is, it starts from the hips and then moves down to the extremities. Now there is cranial nerve involvement in bulbar and bulbospinous paralytic polio. There can be facial asymmetry, difficulty in having food, and there can also be difficulty in speech. There can be respiratory insufficiency, which is usually the cause of death in such cases. Now concising the important points under the clinical spectrum, as well as the incubation period, which is usually 7 to 14 days. Under clinical spectrum, there is the inapparent infection, which has no presenting symptoms. The recognition is only by virus isolation or rising antibody titers. The abortive polio has mild or self-limiting disease due to viremia. The patient recovers quickly and the diagnosis cannot be made clinically. The recognition is only by virus isolation or rising antibody titers. Now, the non-paralytic polio includes stiffness and pain in the neck and the back. Disease lasts for 2 to 10 days. The recovery is rapid and it is synonymous with aseptic meningitis. Moving on to paralytic polio, the virus invades the CNS and causes various degrees of paralysis. The predominant sign is asymmetrical flaccid paralysis. Other symptoms are malaise, anorexia, nausea, vomiting, headache, sore throat and meningeal irritation. Now the tripod sign, the child finds difficulty in sitting and sits by supporting hands at the back and by partially flexing hips and knees. The progression of paralysis to reach its maximum occurs less than 4 days. Paralysis characterized by as descending, that is, it starts at the hips and moves down to the distal parts. There is cranial nerve involvement, which is seen in bulbar and bulbospinous forms of paralytic poliomyelitis. There is facial asymmetry, difficulty in swallowing, weakness or loss of voice. There is respiratory insufficiency, which is life-threatening and is usually the cause of death. And there is no specific treatment. Good nursing care, physiotherapy and use of metal calipers are. Now let's learn about the prevention of poliomyelitis. The killed and live attenuated vaccines are available. The two types of vaccines used throughout the world are inactivated Salk polio vaccine and oral Sabin polio vaccine. First, let's learn about the inactivated Salk polio vaccine. It is administered by intramuscular injection or a fractional dose by intradermal injection. It is stable at room temperature, but it is refrigerated to ensure there is no loss of potency. Now, the primary immunization consists of 4 inoculations. The first 3 doses are given at intervals of 1 to 2 months. The first dose is given is when the infant is 6 weeks old. The fourth dose is given 6 to 12 months after the third dose. Now it protects against paralytic polio. The advantages are that it is efficient to use for immune deficient people as well as people on corticosteroid therapy, radiation therapy, people greater than 50 years of age, and also pregnant women. The risks include erythema, induration and tenderness at the site of injection. Now let's learn about the oral sub-in polio vaccine. It contains live attenuated virus, that is type 1, 2 and 3 virus, grown in primarily monkey's kidney or human diploid cell cultures. According to the National Immunization Schedule, the primary course consists of 3 doses of oral polio vaccine at 1 month intervals. Now the first dose is given when the infant is 6 weeks old and the booster dose is given 12 to 18 months later. Now how is the dose and mode of administration? 2 drops is given, or as stated on the label, we have to tilt the child's back and gently squeeze the cheeks or pinch the nose to make the mouth open and let the drops fall from the dropper to the child's tongue. Now what are the advantages? It is easy to administer. There is humoral and intestinal immunity. It is useful in controlling epidemics and it is relatively inexpensive. Looking at the complications, rarely there is vaccine associated paralytic polio. The contraindications include immunocompromised individuals, people with leukemia or malignancies, and the storage includes stabilized and non-stabilized storage of the vaccines. Concising the important points under the prevention of poliomyelitis, there are killed and live attenuated vaccines which are available. 2 types of vaccines are used throughout the world, that is the inactivated Salk polio vaccine and the oral sub-in polio vaccine. Under the inactivated Salk polio vaccine, it is administered by intramuscular injection or fractional dose by intradermal injection. It is stable at ambient temperature. It is refrigerated to ensure no loss of potency. The primary immunization consists of 4 inoculations. The first 3 doses are given at intervals of 1 to 2 months. The fourth dose is given at 6 to 12 months after the third dose. It protects against paralytic polio. The advantages are it can be given to people who are immune deficient with corticosteroid therapy, radiation therapy, greater than 50 years of age, and also pregnant women. The risk includes erythema, induration and tenderness at the site of injection, which is quite rare. Now under the oral sub-in polio vaccine, it contains live attenuated virus, that is type 1, 2 and 3, grown in primary monkey kidney or human diploid cell cultures. According to the National Immunization Schedule, primary course contains of 3 doses of OPV at 1 month intervals. The first dose is when the infant is 6 weeks old, booster dose is 12 to 18 months later. The dose and mode of transmission, 2 drops or as stated on the label. Tilt the child's back and gently squeeze the cheeks or pinch the nose to make the mouth open. Let the drops fall from the dropper to the child's tongue. Advantages are it is easy to administer, there is humoral and intestinal immunity, it is useful in controlling epidemics and it is relatively inexpensive. Complications include rarely vaccine associated paralytic polio. Contraindications is immunocompromised individuals, individuals with leukemia and malignancy. Storage is stabilized and non-stabilized storage. Now let's learn about pulse polio immunization. Now the term pulse has been used to describe the sudden simultaneous mass administration of oral polio vaccine on a single day to all children from 0 to 5 years of age, regardless to previous immunization. That is the first point. Now the pulse polio immunization occur as 2 rounds, about 4 to 6 weeks apart during the low transmission season of polio, that is between November to February. Now the dose of OPVs during this pulse polio immunizations are extra doses which supplement and do not replace the doses received during routine immunization services. Now the children, including 0 to 1 year old infants, should receive all their scheduled doses as well as this pulse polio immunization doses. Now there is no minimum interval between the PPI and the oral polio vaccine doses. Now there was an improvement in 1998, that is vaccine vial monitors were introduced. That is, each label contained a deep blue color circle. Now, inside this circle, there is a white square which changes color and becomes blue when it is exposed to higher temperatures. Now, when the color of this white square becomes blue, it indicates that the vaccine is ineffective. Concising the important points under pulse polio immunization, the term pulse has been used to describe the sudden, simultaneous mass administration of oral polio vaccine on a single day to all children 0 to 5 years of age, regardless to previous immunization. Pulse polio immunization occurs 2 rounds, about 4 to 6 weeks apart, during the low transmission season of polio, that is between November to February. The dose of OPVs during pulse polio immunizations are extra doses which supplement and do not replace the doses received during routine immunization services. The children, including 0 to 1 year old infants, should receive all their scheduled doses as well as PPI doses. There is no minimum interval between PPI and OPV doses. There was an improvement brought in 1998 by the introduction of vaccine vial monitors. Each label contained a deep blue color circle. Inside it is a white square which changes color and becomes blue on exposure to high temperatures. When color of the white square becomes blue, the vaccine is considered ineffective. We are going to learn about polio surveillance. Surveillance is the most important part of the whole polio eradication initiative. Without surveillance, it would be impossible to pinpoint how the wild polio virus is still circulating. So first we are going to learn about acute flaccid paralysis surveillance. Now there are 4 steps of acute flaccid paralysis surveillance. First is finding and reporting children with acute flaccid paralysis. Second, transporting stool samples for analysis. Third is isolating the polio virus. And fourth is mapping the virus. So first, finding and reporting children with acute flaccid paralysis. Now the first links in this surveillance chain are the staffs in all health facilities, that is from the district health centers to large hospitals. They must report every case of acute flaccid paralysis in any child under 15 years of age. Now in addition to this, the public health staff must make regular visits to hospitals and rehabilitation centers to search for this acute flaccid paralysis cases. Next is transporting stool samples for analysis. Now in the early stages, polio may be difficult to differentiate from other forms of acute flaccid paralysis such as Guillain-Barré syndrome, transverse myelitis or traumatic neuritis. Now all the children with acute flaccid paralysis must be reported and tested for wild polio virus within 48 hours. Now to test for polio, fecal specimens are analyzed for the presence of polio virus. Moving on to the next point, that is isolating polio virus. In a laboratory, the virologists begin the task of isolating the polio virus from the stool samples. If the polio virus is isolated, the next step is to distinguish between wild and vaccine-related polio virus. Now the next point is mapping the virus. Now once the wild polio virus has been identified, further tests are carried out to determine where the strain must have originated. So that is all about mapping the virus. Now after the acute flaccid paralysis surveillance, the next type of surveillance is environmental surveillance. Now this involves testing sewage or other environmental samples for the presence of polio virus. Now there are certain surveillance indicators. First is the completeness of reporting. That is, at least 80% of the expected routine acute flaccid paralysis surveillance reports should be received on time, including 0 reports where no AFP cases are seen. That is about completeness of reporting. Second is sensitivity of surveillance. Now, at least 1 case of non-polio acute flaccid paralysis should be detected annually per 1 lakh population aged less than 15 years. That is, at least 1 case of acute flaccid paralysis should be detected in an year for every 1 lakh population that have an age of less than 15 years. That is what is mean by the sentence. So that is sensitivity of surveillance. Third is completeness of case investigation. That is, all acute flaccid paralysis cases should have a full clinical and virological investigation with at least 80% of acute flaccid paralysis cases having adequate stool specimens collected. Okay, so that is about completeness of case investigation. Moving on to completeness of follow-up. Here also, at least 80% of AFP cases, that is acute flaccid paralysis cases, should have a follow-up examination for residual paralysis for at least 60 days after the onset of paralysis. Finally, looking at laboratory performance. All the AFP cases specimens must be processed in a WHO accredited laboratory within the Global Polio Laboratory Network, that is GPLN. Finally, let's look at the polio eradication and end game strategic plan. This plan has 4 objectives, that is virus detection and interruption, routine immunization strengthening and oral polio vaccine withdrawal, that is it includes the switch, containment and certification, and finally legacy planning. So the virus detection and interruption involves the wild virus detection and interruption as a part of outbreak response. Now the routine immunization strengthening is done and the oral polio vaccine is withdrawn. Now that is about the switch. So in switch, there is a removal of oral polio vaccine in a phased manner to prevent vaccine-derived paralytic polio. Now we know that oral polio vaccine has live attenuated viruses. Now the replacement of the trivalent oral polio vaccine with bivalent oral polio vaccine by removing type 2 strain from the trivalent OPV. Now what do we mean by trivalent oral polio vaccine? It contains the 3 serotypes, that is for type 1, type 2 and type 3. So this is replaced with bivalent OPV that contains type 1 and type 3 and type 2 is removed. Now after the replacement, there is simultaneous introduction of 1 dose of IPV of the type 2 strain. So the most common cause of vaccine derived poliovirus is due to type 2 and that is why the trivalent is replaced with bivalent by removing the type 2 live attenuated vaccines. And IPV with the type 2 strain is introduced in order to maintain herd immunity. And this IPV, as we all know, has killed vaccines instead of live attenuated vaccines. So it has a very minimal or it has no chance of creating vaccine derived paralytic polio. Now in India on 25th April 2016 the switch was taken place and on May 9th it came into action. Finally comes the containment and certification and the legacy planning. I hope you found this video helpful. To get the notes of polio as well as other notes of anatomy, physiology, biomechanics and other health science subjects, visit my Instagram page, the link to which is given in the description below. To get updates on my latest videos, click on the subscribe button. To get notifications, tap on the bell icon. Thank you for watching.